Let's be real. We live in a world that is completely powered by data. It's the invisible engine driving everything from our biggest business decisions to our competitive edge. But here's the thing. What happens when that engine is sputtering? For most companies, the quality of their data is a huge, persistent headache. Getting it right is absolutely mission critical, but man, is it a lot harder than it sounds.
And I'm not talking about a small problem. Just get a load of this. A Gartner analysis found that over the next couple of years, more than a quarter of the most critical data inside the world's biggest companies is going to be flawed. Flawed as in just plain wrong, incomplete, or duplicated. Just let that sink in for a second. A huge chunk of bad data is sitting right at the heart of major global decisions. It's kind of terrifying, right?
And that, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. Or maybe the billion-dollar question. When your data is garbage, the decisions you make based on that data are, well, they're garbage too. So just think about it. What's the real cost of flawed analytics, of misguided strategies, of just a fundamental lack of trust in your own information? Yeah, those costs are very, very real. We're talking about everything from marketing campaigns that just burn through cash and annoy people, to inaccurate financial reports that could land you in hot water with regulators. But at its core, bad data erodes the one thing you can't just buy back: trust.
Okay, so we've established the problem. Bad data is, well, it's bad. So what's the fix? It all starts with a disciplined approach to making sure your data is actually fit for whatever you're trying to do with it. And you can't even start that journey until you define what good actually looks like.
And you know what? It all comes down to this really simple but incredibly powerful idea. Data quality isn't some abstract thing only a tech genius could love. It's super practical. It's just a measure of how well your data actually helps the people who need to use it. Is it the right tool for the job? Simple as that.
So how do you measure that fitness? Think of it like this. You wouldn't build a house with cracked bricks and rotten wood, right? Well, data is your raw material, and we can check its quality across 5 key dimensions. First up, accuracy. Does it actually reflect reality? Then, completeness. Are any critical pieces missing? Is it consistent everywhere it appears? Is it timely, or is it old news by the time you see it? And finally, uniqueness. Are there a bunch of duplicates muddying the waters?
Now, getting a passing grade on all 5 of those dimensions doesn't just happen by magic. You need a solid blueprint for success. And the very first pillar of that blueprint is all about getting the right people into the right roles where everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. Really, it just boils down to this. To build real, lasting trust in your data, you need 2 things: the right people who are held accountable and the right plan for them to follow. That's it. So for the next few minutes, we're going to break down both of these pillars, and we'll kick things off with the people.
And this is a really cool example because we're not just talking theory here. This is the actual data stewardship hierarchy used by the U.S. Department of Defense. I mean, if anyone understands high-stakes data, it's them, right? It's a fantastic model because it lays out a super clear chain of command, from big-picture strategy all the way down to hands-on execution. So let's meet the key players.
At the very top of the pyramid, you have the strategist, the Chief Data Officer, or CDO. Think of this person as the architect for the whole operation. They're not getting bogged down in the day-to-day details. They're looking at the big picture, setting the overall data strategy, and making the rules for how the entire organization treats its data as a critical asset.
Okay, so if the CDO is the architect, then the data stewards are your project managers. These are the experts who are responsible for specific areas of data, like customer data or product data. They manage that data's entire life, making sure it's protected, it's high quality, and that it follows all the rules the CDO laid out. This role is absolutely essential.
And finally, you have the people who are actually building the house, the data custodians. These are your executors, the folks on the ground doing the hands-on work. They're the ones collecting, tagging, and processing the data, managing the actual databases and systems, and putting the rules from the data stewards into practice. They make it all happen.
All right, so that's the who. You've got your dream team assembled. But a great team without a playbook? Well, that's just a recipe for chaos. So now let's talk about that second pillar of our blueprint, the governance game plan.
And hey, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a proven 4-step journey that works. Step 1, you have to assess where you are right now. You can't fix a problem if you don't understand it. Step 2, you establish formal governance. That means putting those roles and policies we talked about into place. Step 3, you bring in the right technology to automate and enforce your rules. And finally, Step 4, you work on building a culture where everyone feels responsible for data quality.
And let me be perfectly clear, this is not some fluffy, nice-to-have corporate exercise. Having a rock-solid game plan is about survival. It's absolutely critical for meeting real-world, high-stakes legal requirements. Think about regulations like GDPR in Europe. Mess that up and you're looking at massive fines. Your governance plan is basically your roadmap for staying out of trouble.
So what does that look like in practice? Well, for a regulation like GDPR, your game plan translates into very specific actions. It tells you to minimize data collection, only grab what you truly need. It gives you a process for managing people's rights to see or delete their own data. It forces you to have clear rules on how long you keep data. And it makes sure your partners and vendors are playing by the same rules. Every single one of these is a direct result of a good plan.
So, getting the right people and the right plan in place, that's the foundation. But here's where things get really exciting, because the whole field of data governance is evolving at lightning speed. New tech is changing what's even possible, and it's expanding the definition of what we even need to govern.
You know, it wasn't that long ago that data governance just meant keeping your spreadsheets and databases tidy. But today, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The scope has exploded to cover basically everything: unstructured documents, team messages, shareable data products, and even the artificial intelligence models that are built on top of all that data.
And this gives us a little peek into where all this is headed. Modern governance tools now have to be able to handle messy, unstructured data. They have to help you manage curated data sets as if they were actual products. They even have to provide governance for AI models to make sure they're fair and not making crazy decisions. And here's the cool twist. A lot of this is being powered by AI itself, which can automatically spot data quality problems in real time.
So if you walk away from this with just one big idea, let it be this: you never finish data governance. It is not a project that you can check off a to-do list and move on from. It's a continuous, ongoing commitment. It's a cultural practice that's all about building and protecting trust in your organization's most important asset.
Which brings us right to the final question you should be asking yourself. With a disciplined approach, with the right people and the right plan, your data becomes an unbelievably powerful strategic asset. But without it, it silently becomes a massive liability, just waiting to cause problems. So, is your data an asset or is it a liability? The choice is yours.